Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Losses Above Replacement, the best baseball podcast to grace your ears. I am today's host, Alex Clark, joined by our very own Super Bowl streakers here in Mathias Kurosaki and Ryan Splash Potts. My main man, the day after the Super Bowl here means only one thing. It's baseball season now. So how you guys doing on what is, in my opinion, the first official day of the season?
I'm going to point out that I did not watch but two plays of the Super Bowl. I think my grandmother had it on when I left for work yesterday, and I caught I think the Chiefs field goal to make it 16-16 in the fourth quarter. That's it. I had no interest in watching the game. Congratulations to the Chiefs and everyone who bet Chiefs money line like I told you to. So baseball is back.
Yee.
Yeah, that's the biggest takeaway from the Super Bowl for me is that it is baseball season now. I'll be honest, the Super Bowl is. I mean, I thought it was like the sleepiest game ever through the first. I don't know. Let's say 45 minutes of regulation. Like, I was almost like my roommate and I were almost like, should we just turn this game off and like not bother with the rest of it? But I mean, it went to overtime, so I'll give it that. I thought Usher was pretty cool, halftime show. Other than that, apparently we're getting a winter storm tonight. My mom's flight to Japan got canceled, so I guess it's going to be bad. My gym is not opening until 12 tomorrow, which sucks. But I had a pretty busy weekend, but it was pretty rewarding. So yeah, doing all right over here. And man, I can't wait for baseball season to get underway.
Yeah, no, I did watch the Super Bowl and I actually very much enjoyed it. I was rooting for the Chiefs because I cannot root for the 49ers. And I enjoyed it. It was a really good game from the fourth quarter on through overtime. That was honestly a lot of fun. I will say the first half was a pretty solid defensive showing, though. So I'm not going to take anything away from that. Also, shout out to former Coug Jalen Watson for scooping up the fumble on the botched punt return. So to give the Chiefs an extra possession. So good on that. But anyway, with all that being said, there's a big piece of news that kind of got lost in all the shuffle of what was going on last week with the Super Bowl and all that. And that is about one of the game's youngest big stars in Bobby Witt Jr. As guess what? He's going to be staying in Kansas City for a very, very long time as he has just signed an 11-year $288,777,777 contract with the Royals, a very long deal with a lot of money involved, especially as he gets into his late 20s. So, gentlemen, guys, this is another one of the big dominoes. We've been expecting to see something where I believe actually on our last podcast, we all said that they needed to lock up Bobby Witt, and guess what? He is now going to be a Kansas City Royal potentially for life here. Guys, what are your initial thoughts on this contract?
This is
I,
good
I
for
mean,
baseball, man. This,
oh yeah, I,
that's
I agree
Uh,
100%.
like that's the takeaway. This is good for baseball. This shows any team can, keep their young stars. Baltimore, this is looking at you right now. Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Jordan Westberg, Jackson Holiday, Grayson Rodriguez. Yeah, sign one of them, right? This is looking at you, Tampa Bay. This is looking at you, Oakland. This is looking at you, Pittsburgh. When you have a guy that's a star, a potential superstar level player, a guy who finished seventh in MVP voting last year, lock him up. Seattle did it. Atlanta does it with every single player on their team. Sign your young stars. I know there's sort of a uh, there obviously is a risk reward to it, but guess what? The reward way, way, way outmeasures the risk here because the next few years, Bobby Witt will be making practically nothing and will be one of the best players in baseball. Now, if the contract turns into an albatross, guess what? You didn't pay, $500 million in free agency to get Miguel Cabrera on the wrong side of his career, Albert Pujols on the wrong side of his career, etc. Or even Aaron Judge on the wrong side of his career. So you get a 24-year-old, he's going to be 24 next season, and he's a star. Simple as that.
Yeah, really the Royals. I mean, I feel like I didn't really see this coming because they don't have a history of spending big. In fact, prior to this contract, the largest contract they'd given out was to Alex Gordon for 72 million. So the first nine-figure contract in Kansas City's history. And it's not like they're a large market team, but to Splash's point, this shows, I think, the rest of the majors. I think really the rest of the professional sports world that it does not matter what market you play in you can afford to pay your stars. And the Royals do just that. I mean, Witt is young. He's younger than I am. He's 23. He turns 24 in June, I believe. And so, you lock him up potentially till his mid 30s, depending on if he opts out. He has 4 opt outs in the deal, plus he has 3 potential team options to extend past for years 12, 13, and 14, it would be of his contract. So you're looking at him potentially being a Royal for life, which just it's not a very common thing. The only guys I can think of off the top of my head really are George Brett and Alex Gordon, and I guess Salvador Perez at this point. But Witt he plays a premier position at shortstop. He can hit for power. He steals bases. He improved on defense this year, which was a big thing. I really did not think he was a good shortstop his rookie year. Uh, there is risk, obviously, to locking up young players, and we're seeing it with guys like Jackson Chorio and Colt Keith, who have not played the majors yet, but gotten contract extensions. But Witt has 2 seasons under his belt. He really showed out this year. And like Slash said, I think it's good for baseball. He's going to be sticking in Kansas City for a while.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is really interesting when we come to this is that for Witt overall, Kansas City has not shown to be a team that's competed a lot in the last number of years. I mean, we had their still on the break, World Series run as
Super
of
Bowl,
late.
yeah. I mean,
100%. Yeah, Bobby Witt.
That's their trophy, yeah.
Obviously, yeah, no. When Bobby Witt Jr. was a great running back, just like Darren Sproles. No, anyway.
Exactly.
No, when they had their World Series run here, that was a while ago. And since then, have not really made too many strides trying to get back to it. This feels
they
like
haven't had
it
a
is
winning
one of those
season since.
Exactly. So, is this the right move for Bobby Witt? Like, don't get me wrong, for Kansas City is an outstanding move. And it has to be, right? Like, you're locking up one of the game's really good young guys for a very, very long time. And it's good to have, especially when you have a guy that has a career already, 111 OPS plus 5.3 WAR in 2 seasons, according to BaseballReference.com. But he's been trending up each time. First year, he was in the running for Rookie of the Year. The next year, he was in the running for MVP. Like, the only reason why he didn't get it is there's a guy named Julio Rodriguez who beat him out for the Rookie of the Year in 2022. And in 2023, he was balling out right alongside all these other guys. He's an amazing talent here. On top of it, he has all the tools you want. Like you talked about the defense getting better. Every part about him has gotten better over it. In his first year, 150 hits, turns out to 177 the next year. Has 20 home runs in season 1, 30 homers in season 2, 30 stolen bases season 1. Make that now 49 stolen bases in season 2. The dude just keeps getting better and better and better. And that's exactly what you want to see from a young guy. And I think that's probably what they were waiting on. We're going to talk a little bit about the comparison to a Julio Rodriguez contract in a second. But the one of the reasons why I think Seattle was so okay in giving their early contract extension to Julio was just because they felt that they needed to a little bit. With Kansas City, I think they felt that like they could wait till that second season was over, and they did, and I think they've got themselves a pretty darn good deal if this guy continues trending like he is. Do I expect him to club 40 homers next year and steal 60 bases? No, I don't. But I do think that we're going to start to see still that increase here, and he's going to continue to play at an elite level, and maybe this is the start to a big thing for Kansas City if they're going to have the money to be able to spend on a guy like Bobby Witt. Now let's see what they're going to be able to do about trying to bring in other people or lock up other players they've got.
I'm going to throw this out there. This isn't just a big move for the Royals. This is a big move for the city of Kansas City. They are looking into a new ballpark and they want, it to be publicly funded with taxpayer money. Okay. How do you increase fan interest? Sign one of the game's brightest young stars. Like, yeah, it's a $288 million commitment. And yeah, you could have used that for the ballpark, I guess. But that $288 million into Bobby Witt, imagine how many number 7s you're going to sell over the next 10 years at Kauffman or at to be determined ballpark. Hopefully it's Pampaka Park, just saying.
That would be awesome. We'll take that.
That'd be awesome. Although that means they would move to Las Vegas, which would be bad. But anyways, this is a big baseball city move, not just for the team, not just for the player. This could get a ballpark done. This is maybe not quite as big as like Edgar Martinez saving the Mariners in 95, but there's something to be said here that this is a big, like a political move almost from the Royals saying, we're gonna come ball, right? We're gonna sign Michael Wacha, we're gonna sign Seth Lugo, we're gonna sign Hunter Renfroe. What That's more guys than the rest of the AL Central signed the entire offseason, by the way, it feels like at least. Then you re-up with Bobby Witt. Politics 101.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair.
Yeah,
So,
no, I think that's the other thing worth noting is that well, like Splash was saying, the Royals are supposedly going to get this new ballpark in downtown Kansas City, and create this whole like stadium district. So it definitely shows that they're willing to like spend to make their team better. And that's the thing is you're talking about the Royals have kind of been stuck in this rut ever since 2015, and the other thing is that it's not like their farm system is super stacked or anything. I'm pretty sure they were ranked 30th in the last farm system rankings, and they have been for most of the last few years. But I think now that they have a young face of the franchise who's locked in for a while, they're going to be more aggressive. I mean, they spent on a couple of bona fide arms in Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo. They have a relatively young rotation led by Cole Reagans, who's a very good pitcher who they got for a rental in a role as Chapman. So this is a step forward for the Royals. The AL Central was probably the weakest division of baseball, so they have a path back to the top of that division. Will they execute on that? Who knows? But this is a big step forward for that franchise.
yeah, exactly. So now let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff that is now going to be surrounding this. And like I brought up earlier here, one of the contracts that jumps out to me when I take a look at this is that of Julio Rodriguez. Again, Mariner guy, I understand it, but you can't help but notice some of the similarities. Both are guys that made their debuts in 2022. Both have had amazing rookie and secondary years. And now you can kind of start to compare the contracts as they both got very long extensions. For Bobby Witt, it was 11 years. For Julio Rodriguez, it was 12 years. Just a little bit more here. But Julio's contract was laced with incentives, whereas for Bobby Witt, there doesn't seem to be almost any incentives to it. Do you think that's good for baseball? What kind of contract as a fan do you think you would rather see? Because for me personally, I love seeing deals that are laced with incentives because it gives the player something to really go for and gives us something to strive for. That's one of the reasons why I respect Julio Rodriguez asking for it, where normally it's the GM that requests the incentives. But I look here at Bobby Witt's, and the only things that are interesting about it, in my opinion, are that there are player opt-outs available after 2030, 2031, 2032, and 2033. And the team could also exercise a 3-year, $89 million club option after 2034 without a buyout. So, guys, what are you guys thinking with this deal? How does it compare to Julio's? Does it need to compare to Julio's? What are you guys thinking on this?
I mean, I think I don't know if this is quite as similar because like we were just saying, the Royals are not necessarily in like an immediate contending window. And also, I mean, I think Julio established himself a little earlier. Rodriguez A is younger than Witt, and B, he was rookie of the year in the middle of his rookie of the year campaign with Seattle, and he had already shown so much growth just within that one season. I mean, Witt was barely above average offensively his first year, and also you gotta remember, I mean, Rodriguez is a center fielder. I feel like if you have like outfield, especially, you expect more offensively than shortstop in some ways, and it's the fact that Julio was both a great hitter and a great fielder as a rookie. So I don't know if they're super similar. I think the Mariners were already a winning team, and they just sort of solidify that they're going to keep their face of the franchise around through thick and thin, while the Royals are doing this so that they can show that like going forward they are committed to at least trying to win in some way.
That's
Yeah.
totally fair.
Yeah, I think this is, they're comparable because the same quote unquote draft class, same rookie year. Um, So they're always going to be linked in a lot of ways. Same as Adley Rutschman, same as Michael Harris, Spencer Strider, all those 2022 Rookie of the Year-ish players. Um, but like Max said, it's the difference between a shortstop and a center fielder. They have different responsibilities offensively, defensively. Witt made some strides defensively. Baseball Reference still doesn't like it. Outs above average loves it. While Julio is like universally regarded as one of the better defensive center fielders in the game that we'll get to in a little bit. So you have the like obvious comparison. It's to me, it's sort of similar to like helmet scouting and saying, oh, well, one's an Ohio State quarterback and the other guy's an Ohio State quarterback. So it's just like really easy to compare them because they're from the same rookie year. But contract wise, I don't know how much it's like comparable with Julio. It's a lot of incentives, and with Bobby Witt, it's more of a options and opt-ins, and you can opt out. And I was listening to Effectively Wild last night, and they were talking like, imagine if he could like thread the needle and get all 14 years of the deal, that he's not good enough to opt out and get more money after years, what, 7, 8, 9, 10. But he's good enough that the Royals are going to commit $89 million to him in the last 3 years of the deal. So imagine that. Imagine, I don't know what player like shape you'd have to be to do that, but baseball's a funny sport.
Yeah, baseball doesn't exist, as we've all talked about. There's no way that it can exist with all the craziness. But no, kidding. But like overall, I really like what I'm seeing from both of these kinds of deals because there are definite differences to it. One feels more like I'm trying to prove it and am willing to put in the work for it, whereas this is more of one I could almost see a little bit where Bobby's able to say, okay, I'm willing to take a year less, but I'm still gonna make a lot of money no matter what. And there isn't as much on incentives, but that could almost maybe be a strategic move by Kansas City because they could think that he's going to excel in all of them, and that means less money to then go and get some of these other players. So I don't know. Let us know what you guys think in the comment section or anywhere you want to find us on Twitter and all that fun stuff here at LAR_baseball. Let us know, who do you think got the best deal between Julio Rodriguez and Bobby Witt Jr.? Do you think Bobby Witt could have gotten more money, more years, or do you think that Kansas City maybe jumped the gun?
We also have an Instagram, same handle at LAR_baseball.
Exactly.
A little bit less of a comment section, but drop a follow. Let us start growing over there. So much love.
Definitely. Yep. So again, thank you to Splash. I'm getting all that set up, all here, ready to go. Social media mastermind. But now, as we get ready here, it is now time for the next partner series of our top fives. And today we are talking center fielders here, the biggest area of the ballpark. So if you're just new to what we do here, we take the top five that we think going into 2024, rank them against each other to see how we all feel about these players and these picks. So we all have our top five. They do not have to intersect, but there'll probably be a couple places where they will. Who would like to go first on center fielder? Splash, choosing you here. Who is your number five center fielder going into 2024?
My number 5 center fielder is Luis Robert of the Chicago White Sox. He was a guy I mentioned in last year's center fielder ranking that, as soon as he's healthy, he's going to be in that conversation. And guess what? He was. He was really high on my MVP ballot. He was excellent defensively, excellent offensively in a horrible, horrible lineup in Chicago. He's the only bright spot, and it's looking like for now he's going to be the only bright spot in now the Chicago Braves because they have like 17 former Braves. So Robert's a stud. He does it all. He's fast. He has a good arm. He patrols the outfield. He's a former Platinum Glove winner back in 2020. He hits for power. He does strike out a lot. He doesn't walk a whole lot. So you have some issues there, but that's very similar to the number 4 and number 3 players. They don't walk a lot. They're great defensively. They run fast. They hit for more power than you'd think out of a center fielder. But La Pantera is my number 5.
So at number 5, I have Michael Harris actually. Now, I'll say this, that it was very close between a couple guys, and I'll mention one that is not on my list, but I heavily considered is Cody Bellinger, who is a free agent right now. Now here's what I think separates Harris and Bellinger is that I think he's younger and his defense more or less stayed the same in my opinion, or in some ways maybe has even gotten better. While Bellinger's defense in center field actually got worse this year. So who knows if Bellinger actually stays in center field going forward. We might see him more in a corner spot. We might see him in at first base. But Harris, I mean, he checks all the boxes. He got off to a really slow start last year, but after June, he became, the Michael Harris we saw in 2022. His walk rate was still low, and his chase rate, man, 38.1% is not great. And Baseball Savant actually pegs him as -9 batting run value, which is, in my opinion, very low. I'll be honest, I'm not necessarily an expert in how these stats are calculated, but his hard hit rate went up, his average exit velocity went up, his launch angle went up, his ground ball rate went down, his line drive rate went up. He still hit 18 homers, batted 293 with an 808 OPS. His OPS and OPS plus both fell considerably, but he's just a good all around center fielder. I really wish he wasn't in the National League East, but I can imagine him being a pretty solid top of the lineup almost guy, maybe bottom of the lineup guy because the Braves have so many hitters. But he's going to be around for a while.
Yeah. No, he's definitely going to be. Michael Harris is not number 5 on my list. Number 5 on my list is Louis Robert Jr. here. So somehow Splash and I agreed on something. No, it's all right. No, but to be fair, I've been a hater on Louis Bob for a while. I'll openly admit it. And you know what? I am very now open to say that I'm eating my own crow right now. He has proven that he is an excellent ball player. He's got power. He's got speed. He's got defense. He really does have very much of the full package. He is an amazing player whenever he does get the chance to play. It's always the biggest problem with him is, again, going to be injury concerns. And as well, the fact that he doesn't have much of a lineup around him to work with. But you know what? Hey, that's something different. When you take a look at the overall player, what they're able to do, I think he's a bit underrated personally. I find it really funny because I think he's got great defense, but Fangraphs actually has as a -1 defensive WAR, which I think is criminal. Like that's just bad, but it does have him at a 13.1 offensive WAR. He's still an amazing player, a great hitter. Homer wise, right now he is projected, according to Fangraphs, to have tied for second most home runs of starting center fielders, according to the website. There's 2 players that have higher. I say 2 because one of them is not marked as a center fielder, although he definitely is. We'll get to him later. But no, for Louis Bob, I think he 100% deserves it. He is a great hitter, great ball player. And even around a fairly mediocre lineup, he still finds ways to produce. So for me, he's number 5. I'll go to my number 4 next. And I said Michael Harris wasn't my number 5. He's my number 4. I think that Michael Harris is a very interesting case here. I think that defensively, he is potentially the best center fielder in baseball. I think that is potentially. Am I gonna say is he the best? No, but he's up there. He's definitely, I would say, at least in the top 5, maybe even top 10, maybe top 10. But looking at what he does, he's a very different player than Louis Bob here, which is funny because they both have very good defense. Harris does his thing not through getting home runs, even though he is projected to still hit 24 of them. He's really good about not striking out a whole ton. Again, projected right now 19.3% on that, but has projected wise the highest batting average at 290, according to Fangraphs. Good on that. Really good WRC plus at 120. Here, an offensive WAR at 16.6. Like, the guy, again, can do a lot, but he's not going to be the big power guy. He's going to be the guy that's going to be reliable. He's going to be the guy that's going to, hit a few out here and there. But he's also going to get on base a lot. He's also going to maybe steal a few bags here and there. Right now, he's projected to steal 22 on the season. He's a really good all-around player. He doesn't fully excel at anything except for the defense, in my opinion. Like, fully excel. But he's extremely good in basically every area. So for that, he's number 4.
So I have Luis Robert Jr. at number 4. Now, the biggest thing with Robert in the past has been his health. He finally played in 145 games this year. Yes, his strikeout rate went up to 28.9%. His walk rate was only 5%. His chase rate is over 40%. His whiff rate is still 33.5%. So what I think, though, is that he had a year where you're willing to sacrifice those swings and misses, those low walk rates, that high strikeout rate for the home runs. I mean, he hit 38 homers. He played in the home run derby. He stole 20 bases still, by the way. And he was great defensively. 13 outs above average, 98th percentile, and still maintaining a solid sprint speed, even though StatCast values him as a below average base runner, -2 run value there. But really, he also had an over 30% fly ball rate, 30.3%. His ground ball rate fell to a career low, 36.4%. So he made the necessary adjustments to allow himself to break out fully finally. And I think this is just the start of something big for Robert. The issue is that the White Sox are kind of spinning their wheels right now, and I don't know what direction they're going in. So my biggest question about his future is he going to be on the White Sox for very long? Because they're kind of in the middle of nowhere. They lost 100 games last year. They're probably not going to do much better this year. So Robert is definitely the shining star, the diamond in the rough for the White Sox. And I'm really curious to see A, how he does this year, and B, how long he sticks in Chicago.
One of the things I want to bring up here before we get too much further on is because, yeah, I agree. There was a lot of talk about him getting traded. And one of the rumored destinations for him before the Mariners were making their moves was Seattle. That putting him together with Julio would be a incredible defensive outfield. And when the Mariners made the trade to get Gregory Santos, all I saw at first was Mariners and Chicago White Sox, and I was like, there's no way. And then I saw Santos, and I'm like, okay, yeah, there was no way. So, anyway, Splash, who you got?
All right. I'm going to do these as a pair, if that's cool.
That's fair. Go for it.
Because this is another case that I think it's a 3A, 3B sort of situation. And
okay.
It's brutally close. I value
That's fair.
Baseball Savant's data. I value what is expected to happen. Sometimes the on-field results are a little bit different. We look at Paul Goldschmidt 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So my 3A is Michael Harris. My 3B is Julio Rodriguez. You look at the tools. They both have excellent arms. They both are excellent defensively. They're both excellent base runners. I would say those generally cancel each other out. One point is Michael Harris hits in front of Ronald Acuna, so he's not going to steal as much as Julio, who's hitting like not in front of Ronald Acuna. So that's the difference in stolen bases to me is he would run more if he was batting second or batting sixth or batting fourth or batting anywhere other than ninth in that lineup. At the plate, they both have one glaring issue. They don't walk very much. Harris is a historically bad walker. He's at under 5%. Rodriguez is a little bit better. He's at 6.6%. J-Rod strikes out a little bit more. They both chase a lot. I like Harris's profile a little bit more. I think there is more raw power with Julio's swing. But I like how Michael Harris performs against righties. I like how he performs against lefties, unless it's in the playoffs against the Phillies because he stinks. But you're looking at a guy with an expected 304 batting average. I know he doesn't walk a lot, but if you're carrying a 304 batting average or around 300, he hit about 340 after mid-June, which is just absurd. We look at Julio's stretch at the end of the season. He had the 17 hits in the series against one of the Texas teams, went bananas. And there's still only 10 points of OPS difference because Harris was, red hot for 4.5 months. Julio went Super Saiyan for near the end of the season. So it's very close. If you're doing like Power Pros ratings, I think they'd be a lot closer than you might expect because Harris it's just great everywhere. Julio, I think you can give A power. I don't know if Harris would get that A power, but I think both of them could deserve A fielding. Both of them could deserve A arm. Julio probably maybe a tick higher. Pure sprint speed, but Harris is an excellent base runner in his own right. So maybe you balance it out with the special abilities, but they're incredibly close. And honestly, you could count Luis Robert as 3C. They're all very similar players. If you hid the name on Baseball Savant, I don't know if you could tell the difference outside of the -9 batting runs, but like Max said, that's just strange. So there's my number 3 and number 4.
And that's fair. Like, I don't know. I don't agree with some of the points that you're bringing up, but I understand exactly where you're coming from on it. I'll give my number 3 here then. And my number 3 is Mike Trout. I think that Trout is still an incredible ball player. He's getting a little bit old now, which is still really weird to say, given what he is now. He's 32 now at this point, but he is still an incredible ball player. Like, watching what he does on the field, it's impressive, to say the least. He is still a good ball player. The biggest problem that you're going to have with him is whether or not he's going to stay healthy. He has had problems with that a lot over the last few years, and these back issues are finally starting to take their toll. Where normally it's very easy just to say Mike Trout is number 1. it is very easy to say that Trout should be number one. But for me, he's number three just because I think that when I'm looking at him, he still is really good at walking. In fact, like among center fielders, he is arguably one of the best. Boy, striking out wise has gotten a lot better at not striking out, but still strikes out a decent bit because he's still going for the home run. But he's still hitting pretty good home runs. He's projected to get 37 on the year. We got using Fangraphs with 100 runs scored, even a couple stolen bases in there. So honestly, I think there's a very real chance that if he plays the full season at this level, he could be number one again. But for right now, for me, there's two guys that I have over him, and so that makes it number two. No,
So
three.
I went kind of back and forth on this up until, I mean, right when we were getting ready to record. So at number three, I have Julio Rodriguez. I feel like the gap between him and my number two is actually pretty close. It's closer than I mean, at first, I like I said, I was flip flopping back and forth. So I really like watching Julio play. He's one of my favorite players to watch. He's basically a five tool player. He hits the ball hard. He hits it far. 32 homers, 37 steals, 103 RBIs. Yes, the strikeouts were high, 175 strikeouts. And he actually lowered his strikeout rate to 24.5% from 25.9. His walk rate fell too, but I mean, all of his expected stats pretty much got better. So this is a case where, I mean, like in some ways it was like maybe a quote unquote down year because his OPS and OPS plus fell, but really he had a great all around season again. And he kind of got off to a slow start like Harris, and he had a rough real first half, I would say, but he was fantastic in August. And I mean, I think the Mariners don't get back into contention without him. And this is a guy going forward who's definitely going to be an MVP candidate. I think this year he will probably be an MVP finalist. I think now that Otani's out of the way. So Julio, he's a great defender too. Yes, it's another case like Harris, like Slash was saying, where the top half of his batting page is all red, but then the bottom half is all blue because he swings and misses a lot, doesn't walk a lot, chases a lot. It's weird because he is in the 90th percentile in arm strength, but his arm value is actually only in the 16th percentile. Again, I'm not an expert on StatCast. I do not quite understand how they calculate these things. But he's also very fast, almost 30 feet per second. So he's an elite runner, an elite fielder, pretty. I don't know if I could say elite hitter, but he's a very good hitter. So he checks all the boxes. He's number three, probably on the rise here.
That's fair. Yeah, so I mean, I have different opinions when it comes to Julio. You'll hear them a little bit later. So then number is like, have we all given our number threes? Then if we're all good to go for number two. So Mac, how about you go give us with your number two then? Just go around the horn again.
So yeah, again, this was very close, and up until basically we were getting ready to hit record, I had this guy as my number three, but I have Mike Trout number two. I was really thinking back on it, and I'm looking at his Statcast page, and it's so much red. I mean, he's even an above average fielder still by outs above average. A lot of metrics will say he has regressed, and I expect him to eventually move over to a corner outfield position. But I mean, even in his worst season statistically by every stretch, other than his cup of coffee in 2011, he's still at 858 OPS. He's still at 18 homers in 82 games, which puts him on pace for about 35 in a quote unquote down season. Yes, the strikeouts are kind of alarming. 28.7% is the highest rate of his career. Still drawing walks 12.4%, still hitting the ball hard. It had a hard hit rate again over 50%, close to 52%. Hitting the ball in the air a lot, maybe not quite as high as his 44.7% rate in 2022, but still 32%, still a low ground ball rate, high line drive rate. He 2.9 baseball reference for in 82 games, which so he's almost at like a 6 WAR pace, which for anyone else, that's all-star caliber. And yes, he did make the all-star game again, his 11th all-star game, 11th straight all-star game too. Every year he's played in where he's come up in time for the all-star game, and there's been an all-star game, he has made it. So Trout is still, if he's healthy, an MVP caliber player. My biggest question going forward, especially now that he's on the wrong side of 30, he's turning 33 this summer, is can this man play 100 games or sorry, can he play 130 games again? Played 119 in 2022. Before that, the last time he's played 120 games in a season is 2019. So I think the baseball world, needs to see this man play 120 games in this season, because when he's on the field, the sport is more fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mac. Mike Trout's my number two as well. You said the Savant page is elite. It is. He has, better hitting metrics than every other player we've talked about. He still slugs. He had 40 home runs 2 years ago. He had 18 in just half a season last year. He had a 227 ISO. He's one of the best players of all time. And that's the critical thing, is he's one of the best players of all time. Like Julio, maybe. Harris, maybe. Robert, maybe. Trout is and still is one of the best players in baseball. I would imagine maybe you have some disagreements if he's like top 10 still, but I think he's squarely in that conversation for being top 10, top five. I don't know if he's number one anymore. I don't think he is, because, hey, he's number two in the center fielder list, but he's one of the best players in baseball. He's still one of the quintessential five-tool players in the sport. He had a 84th percentile expected batting average, a 95th percentile both barrel rate and hard hit rate, 85th percentile range, 75th percentile arm strength, 96th percentile sprint speed. Yeah, he'd still be the number one player in MLB Power Pros when I get around doing that here in the next couple weeks. So the Millville Meteor still in that top two, man.
Yep, very much so. Again, I love Trout. I think that Trout is one of the best things that's happened to baseball in the last several years, just because he's a lot of fun. And he really helped. His exciting level of play really made the game a lot more fun for a lot of people, a lot more marketable at a time where baseball needed to get marketable. Um, I'm going to make a lot of people mad with my number two. My number two is Aaron Judge. I'm not putting Aaron Judge at number one. And am I wrong? Maybe, but you know what? Let me talk him up a bit. Aaron Judge is by far, in a way, probably the best pure hitter in baseball today. Like, looking at what he does right now, he's got pretty good defense. Funny enough, though, Fangraphs also is very mean to him defensively. I say that his defense is negative 5.5 WAR, which also very disagree. He's a very good defender. I think he's a very good defender. Judge as a hitter, I mean, when you are projected to hit 46 home runs, that's a projection, and saying that you're going to have that many home runs is insane. Like, the dude hits. The dude is a menace at the plate. He's one of the best walking players as well, given the fact that people are just scared to pitch to him, especially in the ballpark. The children's playground now is Yankee Stadium. But overall, he's still one of the best overall hitters. Watching him mash home run in every stadium is nothing short of majestic. He's got a cannon of a throwing arm. He's got a cannon of leg speed even. Like, is he the fastest guy? No. But is he fast? Absolutely he is. Is he number one, though? My answer to that question is no. And I have my number one. I am a homer. It is fine, but I have my reasonings for it. My number one is Julio. Now, I know you could all say, yeah, he's the homer. Yeah, he's the guy who just wants to pick Seattle for everything. And you know what, to be fair, you got a legitimate argument. You got a very strong argument. I don't try to hide it really at all. But just hear me out for a second. When you watch Julio Rodriguez play every single day, he does so much that is just not seen as well. Him being on the base paths, he becomes that menace that we talk about with guys like Bobby Witt and these other people. He's got that elite level speed. He scares pitchers when he's on the base paths. And you know what? He gets on the base paths actually quite a lot too. It's really interesting watching what he does. He has an on-base percentage right now of 346 right now, again projected on Fangraphs, which is also one of the highest of a lot of center fielders. He is a big hitter. He hits home runs. He hits for average. Defensively, he has shades of Griffey out there where he's able to make the hardest plays look mundane. He's got a really strong arm, really good defensive awareness out there that I haven't seen as much from Judge. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe that's just from seeing more Julio than Aaron. But don't get me wrong. This is very close to a like how you like to say a splash, a 1A, 1B type thing. I'm giving Julio the edge for a couple of reasons. I think that as a pure hitter, Aaron Judge is better, much better. But Julio isn't a slouch either. I think he is also an elite hitter. Defensively, I'm giving it to Julio. Julio, I think, is the better defender just overall. Arm wise, they're very close. I'm giving it to Aaron, though. But speed is where I'm really making the overall like marker to. And that one I'm giving to Julio. So I think for what Julio does on the field, what he does off the field as well for the community, but also how he reinvigorates an entire clubhouse, I can't have him any less than number one. Call me a homer, but I think my reasoning is valid.
I mean, I guess that's the thing is there is a strong argument for Julio to be anywhere between number one and number four, in my opinion. And I put him, at number three, but at number one, I mean, he wasn't really a center fielder last year, but I guess now that his team has Juan Soto two in the lineup, Aaron Judge is my number one center fielder, and it's just scary how good Aaron Judge is. And just like Trout, it's always going to be health. And we saw what he could do when he's fully healthy in 2022 when he hit 62 home runs. Now you look at his StatCast page for last year, 2023, where yes, he was hurt. He did not qualify for the batting title. He took 367 at bats, 458 plate appearances. He hit 37 homers with 75 RBIs. He drew 88 walks in 106 games. That's a 19% walk rate. You know how ridiculous that is? By the way, you know what his average exit velocity was last year? 97.6 miles per hour. Woo! He had a 64% hard hit rate. Let's just look at the metrics he was in the 100th percentile in on StatCast. xWOBA, expected slugging, average exit velocity, barrel percentage, hard hit percentage, and walk percentage. There's some blue on there for his whiff rate and his strikeout rate. Well, we've kind of said that about every person we've talked about on today's rankings. This man is just an absolute beast. I have no other words. By the way, his 37 home runs put him on track to hit about 57 over the course of a full season. He also is the first Yankee to have 2 3-homer games in the same season, which is crazy because the Yankees have this storied history, and Aaron Judge is the first player to do that. I mean, is he the fastest guy? No, but for a guy who's 6'7" and 282 pounds, yeah, he's actually pretty fast. He can steal bases.
He's playing the wrong sport. He should be playing football. He felt like
that's the thing. He was a tight end actually in football in high school. But I could also see him being a quarterback the way he throws the ball with such strength. Yeah. So Aaron Judge, you'll probably never hear me talk about another Yankee like this, but this man is just I can't get enough of watching this guy play the game. I mean, he's just insane, really. 4.5 baseball reference WAR in 106 games. So that puts him on pace for, I think, close to 7. Yeah, Aaron Judge is number one, and honestly, he might be the best hitter in baseball. I'm not quite sure, but he's up there.
I think Aaron Judge is unequivocally the best hitter in the game. You can argue best player. You can argue best player, but
there's an argument, yes, 100%.
Yeah, what he did last year, he had an expected ISO above 400. That's like Barry Bonds stuff.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
Mollywops the baseball. This is not a. I was comparing like Harris and Julio, and their like abilities are in the same like tier. Aaron Judge has like an X factor, like Madden has a superstar X factor. Aaron Judge has that. Aaron Judge has perhaps the highest power if we're using MLB Power Pros references, and he has all the blue abilities to back it up. So this isn't like a cheap. Oh yeah, he has a power, but technically no, he has like 240 power and has power hitter and has bases clear and has every ability known to man. He is as good of a baseball player that I've seen with my own eyes. He is perhaps a better hitter than Mike Trout. Maybe not over his entire career, although.
Oh, but right now he absolutely is. In my opinion.
Absolutely. Right now he is. 982 OPS, by the way, is only 12 points behind Trout's career. So if Trout has a couple of seasons like 2023 and Judge has another 2022, 2023 level season, you might see a new
italicized 2017.
Right. You
Yeah.
might see a new italicized text on Baseball Reference when you go check it out. So Judge is unbelievable. He's good defensively. I know the metrics are like, yeah, kind of. Look, he's good defensively. He can play center. He can play right. I have no issues with him in the field. Last year he stole 16 bases. But when you're Aaron Judge and you're 6'7" and you weigh 282 and you're the perhaps the most integral player to a team's success in baseball in the last perhaps 20 years since Barry Bonds, I can understand why you only steal 3 bases. I can understand why you're not, you're more of a Giancarlo Stanton type than busting out of box every single time. So I understand. Aaron Judge is the best center fielder in the game. He might be the very best player in the sport.
Yeah, so here's
Yeah.
the other thing I'm going to throw out there is that last year, I think part of the reason why he only hit 267 with only an 1,019 OPS, which is almost 100 points lower than what he put up in his insane MVP season, is the fact that he he didn't really have any protection in the lineup. And that's the thing, is that when he was healthy, Anthony Rizzo was dealing with that concussion, so he was not healthy, and then he was out of the lineup. Giancarlo Stanton was not himself last year. Now you have him batting in the same lineup as Juan Soto and a healthier, in theory, Anthony Rizzo, potentially a healthier Giancarlo Stanton, although that's always a question mark. And you have Gleyber Torres. So I think now that Judge has more guys around him, he's going to be scarier. So I don't know if the Yankees necessarily can win the AL East or make the World Series like they did, or make the ALCS like they did in 2022 or 2019. But I think that they're going to be much improved because they have protection for Judge. So he had 37 homers in 106 games this year. If he stays healthy, I think it's perfectly reasonable to expect 50 out of him. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we get more than that.
That's fair. Like, again, I'm not, when I say Julio is my number one, it's not a huge thing saying that, oh, Aaron Judge is overrated and all that. It's just what I like to value, and what's I think both arguments are very, very valid. Aaron Judge is, I don't think there's a lineup in baseball that does not get better if you add Aaron Judge to it in some capacity. I don't think that's a way to go about it. Yes, Wash?
So, yeah, I was listening to a podcast yesterday. So, shout out to Then There Were Two, a history of the World Series. They were doing the 2002 World Series when a certain Barry Bonds was playing. Barry Bonds was setting World Series records left, right, and center in that series. Why? Because Benito Santiago, with all due respect, was sitting behind him, and he is not as good of a hitter as Barry Bonds. So when you are in a lineup without protection, as much as I think like protection's a little bit of a myth and it's a little bit overstated, whatever, because you still have to pitch to the guy generally. Sometimes the player transcends and gets like past 10 WAR. I'll use that as a benchmark, and you're not going to pitch to him, right? Barry Bonds hit a home run in his first 3 World Series games. He had an OPS in that series about 2,000. Yeah, Aaron Judge, I think, is the closest player since Barry Bonds to be able to do that in a series, just from the right side of the plate, not the left side of the plate. And he's good defensively. So he's not peak Bonds because that's, a one of one, but he's the closest approximation we have to Barry Bonds, man.
That's fair. Yep, 100%.
Oh yeah,
Let
100%.
let us know what you guys think here about our discussions. Do you think that I am absolutely stupid? Do you guys think that other people like deserve to be on this list? Let us know on Twitter or on Instagram, even at LAR_baseball. But now it is time for everyone's favorite segment. It is time for trivia. And for trivia duties today, I hand it off to one Ryan Splash Potts.
Hello, friends. So this is inspired by the Godfrey twins on YouTube. They call it the Tower Game. So Alex and Mac, you each have a category, and you have to name 5 players within that category. However, I won't tell you what the category is, so you're guessing blind trying to get your 5 players.
Okay.
I will say both of your categories are players. So you're
Okay.
not naming teams, you're not naming positions. Those were some of the other ones I thought of. You're not naming baseball terms. You're naming players, and you have to have 5 players that fit the category. And it's a very, very distinct category. Um, there's no like wiggle room. Very distinct categories.
Okay. And we each have our own different category, you were saying?
Yes, you have different categories. I will tell you if you are right or wrong. I will not tell you what the category is, though. So you can follow the rabbit all the way to Alice in Wonderland, but maybe you're following the wrong rabbit.
So I will say this right now. I have a whiteboard I bought at Michael's that I'll
Beautiful.
be using to keep track of my guesses this time.
Sure. All right. Alex, since you came prepared, you may begin.
All right, I'll start with Julio Rodriguez.
That is not a correct answer. Mac.
Oh, I'll go with Carlos Beltran.
That is not a correct answer.
Oh my
Alex.
God, great
Ken
start.
Griffey Jr.
That is a correct answer. Let me write
That
that
is?
down.
What?
Yes, that is a correct answer.
Okay.
All right.
Oh man.
Mac.
I will go with man. I will go with Josh Hamilton.
That is not a correct answer. Alex.
Man,
All
this
right,
is a struggle.
I'm gonna go with Ken Griffey Sr.
That is not a correct answer. Mac.
Oh man. Okay. I'm going to go with Brandon Nimmo.
That is not a correct answer.
Oh
I
my
will say if you
God.
guess the category before you get 5, maybe that can be a win condition as well.
Okay.
Alex.
I'm gonna say Joe Morgan.
That is not a correct answer. Mac.
What? Okay. Oh my God. I'm very lost right
Yeah,
now.
this is
This
tough.
category could be. I
All it takes is one. All it takes is one.
I mean, I
I
have
know
one and I've
all
not
it takes
gotten it
is
yet.
one.
That's a good point.
Um, okay, I'll go with Ichiro.
Not a correct answer.
Oh my
Alex.
God.
I'm also gonna go Ichiro.
That is a correct answer. That's 2 for Alex.
Oh,
Mac.
hold up. We have different categories,
Yes, you have
right?
Yeah, we have
different
two.
categories.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
different
why I
categories.
clarified at the start of this. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. But they're both player specific.
Okay.
Okay. Hmm.
Okay, so it's not that. Then.
I am going. I'm just thinking here. This is incredibly difficult. I'm going to go with I'll go with Carlos Gomez.
It is not a correct answer.
Oh my
All right,
God.
Alex.
Aaron Judge.
That is not a correct answer. Mac.
Okay.
I'll guess Aaron Judge then.
That is not a correct
Oh
answer.
my
Alex.
Dang
God.
it. Okay.
Driving me insane.
I'm gonna go with Brett Boone.
That is not a correct answer. Mac.
What in the world is happening? Is my question.
I would say yours is a more broad category than Alex, ironically enough.
What?
Hmm.
And I somehow have not guessed anyone in this category. All right, Mike Trout.
Correct.
Okay.
Not a correct answer.
What?
Okay.
Alex.
All right, Mike
Nonsense.
Cameron.
Mike Cameron is the correct answer. That's 3.
What the
Okay,
heck?
I have an idea about what my category is. I'm not
Okay,
gonna
let
say
Matt
it yet.
guess. Let Matt guess.
Oh my! Um I I I'll Michael Harris. I don't,
Not a correct answer. Alex?
geez.
Okay. Can I guess a category and then if I'm wrong, can I also guess a player?
I'm gonna say just one guess. So either you guess the
Okay.
category or you guess the
All right,
player.
I'm gonna guess Mariners that started an All-Star game in the outfield.
Way too specific.
Oh, I thought you said it was more specific. Okay.
No, these are pretty broad categories.
Okay then.
Mac.
Wait, okay. Now, okay, oh my God. Now I'm thinking of like God, this is actually gonna drive me insane. Lance Johnson.
Uh well, you stumped me there. I have to go Googling him. Uh this is brought to you by Lance Johnson. Congratulations on a big league career, more than I played in the majors. But Lance Johnson is not a correct answer.
What?
Okay. All right. My next guest, Raul Ibanez.
Ibanez is correct.
Oh my
Matt?
So
God.
I'm at 4 corrects.
The thing is, I'm pretty sure I know what Alex's category is, and I have no clue what
To
my
be fair,
category
I actually
is.
don't know what my category is. Like I would have said it, but my first guess was wrong.
All right, Mac.
Oh
Gotta get
my
one,
God.
man.
Yeah, I know. I'm just spinning my wheels at this point. I guess I have to keep guessing random outfielders until I get one right. I'll go with Moises Alou then.
Not a correct answer.
What is this
Alex.
Okay.
nonsense then?
Okay. The problem is like my thought with this was that it was just Mariner outfielders who like played an All-Star game or something like that. But J Rod's obviously played in an All-Star game.
Right.
And
And he's not a
you
correct
said no,
answer.
and he's not a correct answer. I was also thinking people who've played Mariner in the outfield, but Griffey Sr. is an incorrect answer.
Correct.
So I'm not sure where I'm going on this. I think I'm just gonna put another Mariner outfielder there and see if that'll just get me a point here because I'm at 4. I only need one
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. You only need one more.
So okay, so then I'm going to say Michael Saunders.
I do not believe he is a correct answer. Yeah, he is not a correct answer.
Okay.
Mac.
Yeah, the thing. Oh my God. Um, I have a dumb question first.
Sure.
I don't know if I'm actually allowed to ask this, but like, are our categories related to each other at all?
The only overlap are they are baseball players. There
Thank
might
you.
be overlap. There might be overlap in the category, but the only real important thing is like there is the Venn diagram has some overlap. So you can guess a
All
player that
right,
would be on Alex's list. You can guess a player that's not on Alex's list, and it'd still be right. And Alex can do the
all
same
right.
thing.
I'm gonna guess Mike Cameron then.
That is not a correct answer.
What the heck?
Alex,
Teoscar Hernandez?
no. Mac,
Oh my God. What in the world? I'll guess Ken Griffey Jr. then.
that is not a correct answer.
I'm getting
Alex,
shut
Okay.
out, man. This is
Yeah, that's fair.
ridiculous.
I'm gonna go Felix Hernandez.
that is a correct answer. That would have been a correct answer for Mac too.
What?
All right,
All
so
right.
that's 5 for me.
Yeah. Do you want to guess your category, Alex?
No, I have no clue.
Okay, Mac, with the clue that Felix Hernandez is a part of your list, would you like to guess your category?
Yes, Johan Santana.
Yep. Fits both.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Johan Santana fits both.
Johan Santana is. Oh, hey. Oh my God.
Oh,
I.
oh, oh! I think I just figured out. These players are all in MLB Power Pro 2008.
That is correct.
Yeah.
And Mac, your category was pitchers.
What
What?
nonsense? That is absolute nonsense,
That's
dude.
hilarious.
You said like I have to guess another outfielder, and I'm like, no, you don't. Unless you guess like Rick Ankiel, then I'll give you credit for that. But what are we doing?
Okay, because I
Wait a
thought for the
goddamn
longest time it
minute.
was just Maryland outfielders. And then I
Yeah.
remembered, oh, wait a minute, it's you. So it has to be something involved in MLB Power
Yeah.
Pros.
This thing is that I was just thinking because we did center fielders today that I just have to
Oh
keep
no.
guessing outfielders. Oh my
Oh
God, I
no.
cannot believe I overthought this whole thing.
I was wondering that too. I'm like, why do you have to keep guessing outfielders?
Yeah, there's not outfielders. Maybe I can make one that's outfielder specific, but congratulations,
Oh my
Alex.
God,
You
Yay!
got
I won a
that was
trivia.
I
Griffey,
don't know if I
Ichiro,
can
Mike
recover
Cameron,
from
Raul
this.
Ibanez, and King Felix.
Because I had a feeling it was that your category was somehow related to Power Pros because you kept
Mhm.
naming guys who were active in 2008.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fair. I
Yeah.
named a lot of Mariners, and so I'm like, okay, does it have anything to do with Seattle? Because I feel like that's something Splash would do. But then it came to be like at the last second, they're like, oh, it's Power Pros. Got it.
Yeah.
Because you named Mike Cameron and Ken Griffey Jr. and
Ichiro,
Ichiro,
Well,
and I was
so
like,
okay,
oh my
Ibanez.
God, like
so my answer for that was like my first 2 guesses were J Rod and Griffey, and one of those was correct. And then later on, getting Cameron, I'm like, okay, these are people that like have won like all-stars with Seattle in the outfield. These are all outfielders.
Yeah,
So I thought
the
maybe it has
problem
something to
with
do with
that is I would have had to do a
outfielders,
lot
yeah.
more searching than
This is fair.
yeah. So
This is fair.
wanted it to go a little bit faster.
All right, no, I love
and
it. That
okay,
was
no, I
awesome.
get it.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Splash.
Good
That was
job,
a fun
boys.
Yeah.
time.
Shout out to the Godfrey twins. Fun YouTube channel.
Good day. I would love to do that again sometime. That was fun.
For sure.
All righty. Thank you so much for that, Splash. It is now time, though, for our final segment as we like to end every show here on Losses But Replacement with a moment to ourselves where we take a moment to say whatever's on our minds. Does not have to be baseball related, but it absolutely can be. So, with that being said, who would like to go first today? It looks like Splash wants to go first. So, all right, your time will start in 3, 2, 1, begin.
I think I said it last week, but make sure you surround yourself with people that respect you, that honor your opinions, that think you're trustworthy, think you're, a good person, And if you surround yourself with people that don't follow those, basic things, maybe it would be best to move on. Sometimes that's the easy path, and sometimes Occam's razor is true, and you should just take the path of least resistance. Um, Other times, maybe you tough it out and keep moving forward and find common ground with the person. But yeah, make sure you always respect yourself. Make sure you're always looking out for yourself. It may not have to be every single second of every single day, because you can certainly be philanthropic to people, nice to people, but at the end of the day, you're you, and that has to matter to some degree.
Amen to that, brother. Yeah, no, that's a really good
I
way
agree with that
think
too.
on it. Yeah. All right. Mac, would you like to go next, or would you like me to?
You can go next. I'm
All right,
still
sounds
thinking.
good. All right, here we go. So I'm going to start mine in 3, 2, 1, begin. So one of the things that I don't understand as much, like I mean, I kind of get it, but at the same time, I don't think it's as big of a deal as people make it out to be, is the stuff with Taylor Swift and the Super Bowl and all that. Like, yes, it's annoying to a degree, but there's something else that I think about it first. There was a stat that just came out, I believe, earlier today. That was the total amount of time that Taylor Swift was on the screen for during the Super Bowl. That time was less than a minute. It was 54 seconds. And I know that it probably felt like more than that to some people, but at the same time, I don't honestly care. Like, the biggest thing that I'm taking away from all of this is the fact that Taylor Swift has now brought in a bunch of new football fans. I've now personally talked with a bunch of people that watched the game or watched a lot of the season because they were Swifties and are now asking me questions about football, being like, actually, this is pretty cool. This is pretty fun. And I love that. Like, I love getting to answer those questions because now it's going to instill a little bit more of a love of the game of football. And those are people that would not have given it even a smoke of a chance if Taylor Swift had not, gotten now in a relationship with Travis Kelce. So you know what? On that one, as much as I'm not the biggest fan of that, and I'm the biggest fan of Taylor Swift or even of the Chiefs, I think that there's a lot more good that is coming of this than what a lot of people have to say.
I'll just say this real quick that I think Taylor Swift is an incredibly talented musician, and I think she actually does make pretty good music. The only thing that bothers me is her fan base is kind of nuts. They are kind of insane. I'll say that much. That's not to say that you can't like Taylor Swift, by the way. Uh, I think, like I said, I think she's incredibly talented,
Yeah.
and she's not famous for bad reasons. I think she makes pretty good music, and I think she should keep doing what she's doing. By the way.
Yeah, good for him. I completely
Anyways,
agree.
yeah.
All right, Mac, it is your turn to get started here. Your time begins in 3, 2, 1, go.
So I was saying this earlier, but I had a pretty busy weekend work wise. I was working an event remotely, and the thing is, the hard part was I was not on site, and B, I was getting a lot of orders from my boss, just to do various things. Which I mean, it's fine. I was doing what I need to do, but uh, what was rewarding about this was getting emails from people within my company in the league thanking me for what I did over the weekend. Including one of them who is part of our board of directors, and I just want to, it's the little things in life that can, bring you up like that. It was a pretty tiring weekend, not being able to be on site working the event. It was tough. I mean, because I wanted to be there, but it was good that at least some people recognized that I did put in my 100%, and that going forward they can expect nothing less than 100%. So just keep that in mind going forward with everything. You know.
Yeah, I completely understand that. Yeah, I love being able to make sure we can all put our effort towards whatever we need to do. But that's going to do it for us here today at Losses Above Replacement. If you have anything to say to us, anything you agree with, disagree with, here, let us know on Twitter at LAR_baseball. You can also follow all of us individually on Twitter. You go follow me at the Sports Guy 242. Go follow Splash at Mr. Splashman19. And you can also go follow Mac at Mathias_A_K. We also now have a new Instagram and YouTube under the same names of Lost Above Replacement or LAR_baseball. Go check us out, subscribe to us on YouTube, like our videos. We've been putting out a lot more stuff and putting out the full recordings of the podcast. But for all of us here at Lost of Replacement, I want to thank you all for listening. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe. And I hope to see you all real soon. Thank you.